NPTEL's live session. We'll start in a few minutes.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes. Good evening, Shyam. Welcome.
Just a
to our-
minute. I'm not able to get your audio. Mm,
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I can hear you, Shyam. All
yes,
right.
sir.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first live session for this semester. Very happy to see all of you, and hopefully, you had a good set of weeks of this content so far. And this session is mainly for addressing all your queries, all anything that you might want to uh, address, you want to clarify. um, that's the main intention of this session. It could be anything to do with the videos or the content of the videos, perhaps even the assignments. And lastly, if you have any questions on applying design thinking to anything that you want to in real life, and you need our help, this could be a good place to ask also. If you're watching this as a recording on YouTube, and you have some questions, you can use our discussion forums, which we will try our best to answer as quickly as possible. Many times, because of the volume of the questions, we are not able to get back immediately, but we will try our best to answer every question that comes our way. So that's going to be how it works. Um, with me, I have Shyam. Shyam is our teaching assistant, and for this course, and yes, he is also here in this call. Okay, so over to you, Shyam. If you can, sort of
Yes,
present your screen,
yes,
and let me just unspotlight myself. Yeah, you're going to share your screen. Yes, we can. Yes, we can see a screen.
right. Great. Welcome all. Good evening, everyone. Let's start with a brief introduction about the professor, Dr. Balaramadurai. He is the CEO and co-founder of Spirelia, a pre-incubated startup at IIT Madras. He is also an adjunct professor at Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune, and guest faculty at IIT Madras BS degree program, where he teaches design thinking. And he's also an international visiting professor at the Universidad Panamericana, Mexico, where he teaches courses like Innovate Like a Boss. He holds a PhD from Arizona State University, USA, and a BTech from IIT Madras. So here is the snapshot of our web page, where Professor Bala and the tech lead Anuprati leads this product development, an AI-powered product for IP white space innovation. The website and the LinkedIn page details are given at the bottom. I'll copy paste in the chat for you to access it. And here is the textbook which Professor Bala has authored. It is called as Karmic Design Thinking, a Buddhist-inspired method to help create human-centered products and services. It's available on Amazon as well as Flipkart. This is also a prescribed textbook for this 4-week course. At the end examination, you may find questions both from the video content of the NPTEL courses as well as some questions from this textbook. With that, we will now move on to the first question, which is sort of long, but the crux is what Professor Bala has been emphasizing for a very long time. and he can guide the learner with this question also. I'll read out the main question. How can I guide students to avoid pre-deciding problems and instead truly empathize with users before problem definition? I think this summarizes the entire paragraph that the learner has written. So, sir, you may go ahead.
Yes, in fact, I would extend this question to be not only pre-deciding problems but pre-deciding the solutions as well. Um, what really happens is that many times, and it's not only limited to this learner or their students. It's many people who start with design thinking, including myself. When I started out, this was my situation as well, that you go into the whole empathize activity uh, pre-decided that this is what the solution is going to be, this is what the problem is. You're 100% sure already. Now, what does that do? Is it stops you from actually actively listening to your customers and to your audience that you want to benefit. So you're not actually looking at it from their perspective, but it's actually your own perspective that comes in. So that's the thing that we lose out on. One of the pillars of design thinking, and one of the ways in which design thinking differs from other problem solving methods, is that this is human centered. You put yourself into someone else's perspective, not your own, but someone else's perspective. It's not about being condescending. It's not being about, oh, you poor thing, I'm going to try and help you. No, it's about each of us. They probably will do that for us. That's what we do. That's the kind of society we live in, where you help somebody and they help you in direct ways or indirect ways. So, given that spirit of how products and services work, how society works, we have to be aware and open minded. And one of my friends rightly put it, saying a blank canvas. You have to be like a blank canvas and go there and learn as if you've never met this person, you don't know this person at all. Okay. Now, that's the attitude. If we go in, we gain a lot of insights. It suddenly people come back. And one of the questions I keep asking is, what did you learn that you never knew before? And that's the question that really drives people into finding those answers that you never knew before. Once you go with that attitude, then things become easier. So to this learner, I would say, tell your students, yes, they will come with some pre-decided problems, great, but when they go back to the market and truly try to empathize with their users, ask them, what did you learn apart from what you already knew? Okay, so how do you even find that out? So first of all, ask them to put down what they think before they enter into the, go and interact with the users. Make them observe, make them note down what is the problem according to them. Just a one slider. I just in this is a student situation, so I'll give you from my experience, is that ask them to write it in one slide or one sheet of paper what they think is the problem, okay, with a certain user, okay, or set of users or customers. So when they do that, and when they go back to the market, they either confirm, yeah, yeah, this is the problem. But your question, teacher's question, should be, what is it that you have learned apart from these problems? What else did you learn? Now that sets them thinking, saying, oh yeah, now I have to be really, so the, if possible, even make them go back and find out more about the problem, that more than what they had already thought about. So this is something that has really helped me even recently. Some of my so somebody, they've asked me, do you have any examples where you can change it? So they actually hired a bike rental in their mind, bike service, like a motorbike service rental in their mind. Okay, so I told them, rather than go doing that, find out how they use an existing product. I underlined existing product, and I said, you have to find out what do they do with an existing product. So they looked around and they couldn't find anybody who was doing bike rentals. So they instead looked at car rentals. Okay, that's the closest that came. And Uber or Ola or one of them they took and asked the user to use it, and they noted down the customer journey map. So this is one way in which the students could actually find out, hey, what's up with our customers. How do we actually find out what is going on? So an existing product, in case they're already thinking about a product or a solution, and the second is make them write what is the initial problem statement. So that way you as a teacher will know exactly what they're working on. So this is something from my own experience. Thank you for the nice question.
All right. We'll go ahead with the next question. As an entrepreneur, how design thinking would help entrepreneurship, and what are the elements of design thinking for marketer or marketing? This is what
Okay.
Dr. Monica is
These are two
asking.
questions actually. I'm going to take that as two questions. One is, as an entrepreneur, how would design thinking help? And as a marketer, how would it help? And I'm not going to consider the possibility of a marketer being an entrepreneur also. Well, that's the third question. So I'm just going to take it as two questions. As an entrepreneur, you have to know your customers. You have to absolutely know your customers. You can know great things about your product. You may have a flagship product that's amazing, it does so many things so well. Doesn't matter if there is nobody using it, if there is no problem being solved. You cannot explain something to a person who would benefit out of it. Then there is no point having a great product. A great product is only great when somebody can use it and somebody can benefit out of it. Now it applies for a service as well. So you are a great actor, let's say. You deliver acting service, okay, you deliver entertainment. But if there's nobody watching it, okay, what's the point of acting? I mean, it's great. You're a great actor. You deliver good lines. You have timing. Awesome. But nobody's watching it. Nobody's getting entertained. What's the point, right? It's obvious when it's for some other profession. But when it comes to our own profession, it's the same for design thinking. It's about who is the recipient of your output. So if you're a large organization, okay, so or if you're a small organization, doesn't matter. What is the output of your organization and how is somebody benefiting out of it? That is the first step of design thinking. So that's how entrepreneurs need to absolutely know your customer. If you're a startup entrepreneur, you have to know that first customer very, very well, exceedingly well. Your first set of customers, so one or two customers, you have to really focus on and be bold, keep trying, keep giving them some prototype or the other, keep refining it based on what you see. You have to keep learning. That's the only way. Your product may not be the greatest in your mind, doesn't matter. You give it to the customer, get the output, and see if it really works for them. If it works, and I am right now in that ball game, I am actually interacting with my customer, trying to find out how is it that they are able to use it. What is the shortcoming? What is the things that are working out? I didn't know many of the things that I thought I knew it till it actually started being used by the customer. And like, I don't understand that feature at all. I'm like, wow, that's a flagship feature. And they say still don't understand it. So you be ready for that. You will totally be humbled by some of the things that you hear. Like, oh, I mean, unbelievable. I thought this is going to really win. It's going to make their life better. But no comes the answer. So you will have to be ready to learn a lot. And now, will the customers come and tell you everything? I mean, people I've seen also, which drifts me, takes me to the next question, which is, as a digital marketer, what do I do? So, will a customer come and tell you what kind of product they need? No, you will have to figure this out. Can I run surveys? That doesn't work for design thinking. If you want to know your customer, even if it is in the digital format, you will have to meet customers in person and try to find out. Oh, these statistics, they tell me a lot. I've got 15,000 likes here and 5 likes here. Does that tell me something about it? No. Have you met somebody in person? Have you actually found it out? If the answer is no, then you will need to do that. That's the first thing. Go visit people, talk to them, show them, and that's when you will learn the most. So as an entrepreneur, you have to know your customer very, very well, and through iterations you have to keep learning. The learning never stops, absolutely never stops. You think you know the customer very well, they come up with a surprise. Okay, you will be amazed. Okay, so and in case of a digital marketer, you have to stop staring at your screen, your Canva, your digital devices. You have to go in the real world and meet real customers. Then your digital marketing will be point sharp. It'll be really sharp. So keep in mind, have fun with that. I mean, you don't have to take it as a do or die situation. It's really fun hanging out with the customers and learning a lot.
Thank you for the detailed explanation, sir. This
Okay.
question is very related and similar to it. A learner, Preeti Kaushik, wants to know how to apply or learn design thinking for service sector and how to go about it.
Okay.
Service sector
Great
could be
question.
lab or product
People think
sales.
that all. Hello. Okay, I don't know. Uh, so the question here is that yeah, so service sector. Uh, Oftentimes I come across saying, "Hey, design thinking and design, all that sounds very good for a product, but it doesn't work for service." That's what I keep hearing. The answer I have is they are practically one and the same. The what you offer is completely different. Of course, the product is very, you can see it, it's tangible. um, Sometimes people can hold it, sometimes people can interact with it. Service is more, like what I'm doing right now, it's a service, right? So it's not tangible, you have to experience it. It's more that way. However, in design thinking, what we say is we look at the experience part of it, even product usage experience, right? You When I say great product experience, the name that comes to your mind probably delivers a great experience, starting from the buying of it, delivering of it, usage of it, the maintenance of it, all of that. It gives you complete delight. So that's a definition of a good product experience. And likewise, think about a hotel experience or hospital experience, right? The way they make you feel from the moment you're going to use the service, to using the service, to when you're done, finishing with the service. What is your experience? What do you feel like? Okay, that's the experience. So in effect, it's one and the same, the product experience and service. So basically there's no big difference between a service sector or a product company in terms of design thinking and how it operates. It starts and ends with the human being who's using the product or service. Let's take service itself. I'm not going to say product or service because you talked about service. I'm going to say it starts and ends with the human being who's the recipient of your service. Okay, so now if you're a large company, when you say service sector, usually people in large companies use that phrase. So I'm going to assume you're Preeti, in a large company, and you're wondering, oh, customer is so far away. How do I go about doing design thinking? Well, think of this: you are delivering a service, your company is delivering a service, and you are inside the company. Who is the recipient of your work? The answer to that is the customer. Okay, that person. Say you are in software services, right? You're writing software for a client, but who will receive your software? The next immediate person who will receive your software. If you're a teacher, who is the recipient of your teaching services? Your students. In your case, it could be testing people. I don't know, sales people who take it to, or they deploy, people who deploy your software. These are people who are the next in line for that. Think about them. Think about what is their situation. How are they taking your service? Think about it from their perspective. That's where I would start. That's the design thinking starting point for the service sector. Okay, if you're in a hotel service, right? You're not interacting with the end user or the customer. You're one of those staff, right? So who is the next in line of your service? Think about them. The answer to that is where I would start. Think about them. How are they using it? Where are we falling short? How is their life not? I mean, it's probably not up to a certain mark. How can you make it better? This kind of thinking is where I would start in the service sector. Again, with all of these questions, I'm going to say a general thing is that if you think you need to have a follow-up question with my response, please do make sure you, if you're in the Zoom call, please do make sure you answer that. Or if you're in the chat in on YouTube, you're watching there, then leave a question there as well. We'll be able to answer it in this session itself. If you're watching the recording, or later you get a question after this session is done, even though you're part of this, use the discussion forums. We'll be happy to answer them. This is a generic announcement for anybody who has a question. Okay. All right, Cham, back to you. Okay, maybe I can take one of these questions, which is online, which is in the chat. It says the delivered lectures of this course is in online mode or offline mode till 19 September. Well, all of these sessions are going to be online mode, which is all the recorded video lectures. And the session, there are two sessions which are called live sessions, meaning they are live like this, synchronous, but it still will be virtual mode. So we will have a virtual synchronous, two virtual synchronous. One is right now, and one just before your exams, specifically oriented to answering questions about your exam. Whoever is taking your exam, the exams, or enrolled for the exams, we will answer those questions in that session. This is for all questions related to the course, application of design thinking, anything at all that goes between this. So that's the answer to that question. Sham is back. Okay.
Now from marketing to service sector to job, what is the thinking? This is what Mr. M. Venkatasuman.
Okay. So I think we did answer this in a frequently asked question video, Sham. This is there. But anyway, I don't mind repeating that. So, so what in design thinking, what we call is it's a domain agnostic or industry agnostic. What does that mean? Design thinking is a thinking methodology. It is not domain specific. That is, you are in mechanical engineering, so it works, or you're in hospitality, it works, in management it works. No, it works all across jobs, all across life itself, all across. It's a way of thinking. So anything that you deliver, anything that you can look at, those are all things that you will need to think about it from an end user perspective. Who is the recipient of it? You'll need to think about it. So if it's your job that you're delivering, ask yourself, I said this already in the earlier part of the talk, ask yourself who is the recipient of your job, right? So you're in a, I don't know, you're in a mechanic's job, you're a teacher, you're a student, any kind of profession. Who is the recipient of your work? Even if you're writing essays in your exam and you're a student, design thinking does apply to you. Your handwriting has to be legible enough for your teacher to read, right? So those are things that we made sure that we are human centered. That is, the recipient of your work should be able to figure things out. So easily you can apply this thinking. So I know oftentimes I get asked this question. I'm going to extrapolate the question that was asked, saying that, hey, where do I start applying design thinking? I liked the methodology, I liked what you had to say in the course, but I don't know where to start. Look around. In fact, this morning I wrote it in the discussion forum, is look around yourself. It could be a classmate, it could be a colleague, it could be a family member, it could be a loved one, it could be a roommate. Start with them and start small. Oh, somebody commented about a curtain earlier. So years ago, my wife couldn't reach the curtain because it's too tall. She couldn't reach it at all. So every time she had to call me, and I had to, sort of close the curtain. It was very difficult for her. So I could have kept helping her like that and doing that, but instead I said, hey, if I have stepped out of home, how is she going to do that? So I started with simple rope and kind of design, and I tried to help her out with that. It worked for a little bit, but once she tugged at it, pulled at it, it sort of fell apart, the whole assembly I had. So I learned something. Okay, so she does this, this happens. So it has to be such that it's comfortable for her hand, but the thing has to be strong. Like you can see the contradictions, right? So he did that, and several iterations later, I had to let go of the whole rope assembly itself because it's too tangly and it was too dangerous. So I let that go. So a lot of learning. You can start very, very simple, and this is clips and ropes that are lying around my house. So that's what I use. So you could do the similar stuff. So look around yourself. There are so many things that you can help out with your family, with your colleagues, your classmates, and see what is it that you can take up that is an interesting project for you, and it will help somebody. And you can keep looking at how they use your new ways and see if it really helps them, or if it doesn't, keep improving them. This is all you need to start. So whether it is digital marketing, whether it is teaching, whether it is service sector, or a job or a life, so it doesn't matter. It's the one and the same. The approach is the exact same. Start small, keep learning, and keep improving your what you have to offer, and it gets exciting turns. More people use it, it takes exciting turns. That's how I would go about it.
Sir, that's all from the Google form that was floated to collect
Okay.
questions from the learners. But there are some in this chat. I think you have one with respect to the online mode or offline mode.
Yeah, that I answered.
Sir,
Yes, that one I
Mohammed
answered.
Hussein has a question on design thinking in the present outcome-based education in universities. Has it been taken?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed Hussein, for this question. So, outcome based education. So, that's an interesting term. Uh, I wonder what is the non outcome based education. For me, the outcome based education is what is it that the students need to learn. This is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so what is it that the students carry forward? What can they take? So perhaps you could look at what is it that the students are going to use it for. I'll give you a concrete example. So one of the things that happened in my course was that the first version of my course, students were not as engaged as I thought it would, because I was using the same method, the same construct, workshop style, all of that in another course, and it was working very well. When I switched audience to another class, I thought, oh, student, what's the big difference? It must be the same. I tried to apply it. It wasn't, let's say, connecting as well as I thought it would, and I wondered what's happening. So I went to the the canteen. I saw a few of my students sitting there, and I said, hey, may I join you guys? And I joined them for lunch, and I started chatting, about where are you from and all those usual questions. Then slowly I started knowing about uh, what is it that they do in other courses, in other, beyond academia. What do they do? All that I tried to find out. Came to a point where I found out that each of them had a large education loan on their heads, right? So they had taken loans to enter this college. So then I realized that loan means that they have it's in their name, so which means they have to repay after they leave college, which means if they have to repay, they have to get a high paying job, and it has to be really quick, because the loan was pretty hefty. And if they have to do that, a high paying job, it has to their resumes have to be really good. So in my next version or next class, I said, guys, I want this course to have projects and to have outcomes that will directly align to having good resumes which will have a point, a bullet point, which will talk about your design thinking project, and which will also attract the attention of an employer, a potential employer, so that you can get cushy jobs. Okay, I made this out. This is probably obvious to them, but when I said it out like that, like a proper logical way in which it is connected, they understood where I was coming from. The entire course sort of pointed towards that. All the cases that they were taking in my class were all pointed towards making it marketable, quote unquote, in a job, in a very competitive job market. So that lunch conversation turned out to be a real turning point for me in that class. That the next class, I saw lots of students paying more attention than before, and I connected very well with them. Uh, it is all because I, quote unquote, empathized with my students, or and they didn't tell me this is what we are looking for. I mean, asking them what are they looking for in my class was not the point of my conversation. I was trying to learn from what is their life, what does that look like beyond my class, all of that, how does that tie. So then my thinking started kicking in, and then that I could bridge the gap between what do they really want and what I have to offer. How can I really connect them all and present it to them? And of course, I was still learning. It wasn't a done deal. So this is how I would say design thinking really helps. If you really sit down and learn from your students, this is going to be different for if you're not used to this is a very different kind of thing to do, but it's worth its while. You don't have to spend a lot of time with all of the students, but a few of them, get to know them very well and get to know some things that they might not otherwise share. And that way it actually becomes aligned with the outcome based education as well, and you will have your students buy in as well. So that's one way to sort of use design thinking and yet align with what the universities want and what the outcomes should be. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, Dr. Mohammed Hussain still want any class? Okay, yes, respond.
Yeah, I says okay, sir. Okay.
Fine. There is one question from Dr. Monica. I think this has also been answered in the frequently asked questions. I'll still repeat the question. What
Right.
is the difference between design thinking and karmic design?
Okay. Before I get to that, I think there are a few exam related questions. As I've already said in the earlier part of this live session, we will have an exclusive session dedicated towards the end of the exam. I'm sorry, towards the end of no, just before the exam. I apologize. Before the exams start, we will have a session dedicated to exams and everything related to exams, and you can certainly learn and ask a lot of questions around that. Yes, thanks. This is what we usually. So September 19th, 5:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, Friday, you will have this information. You can ask us all of those questions there. We'll be happy to answer those. All right. So then let me actually there. Yeah. What is the difference between design thinking and karmic design thinking? Okay, thank you so much for that question. The well, in spirit, there is no big difference. The design thinking that you can find out there, say, let's say an IDEO, Stanford, or University of Virginia model. There are so many of those models out there. If you look it up, you'll find that there are many, many models out there. So the difference, so to speak, what that we have is our method here is what in fact Shyam described it as Buddhism inspired. Uh, we base it on the Four Noble Truths, and hence many of the teachings that Lord Buddha had in 500 BC, we have tried to correlate it and use it. One of the teachings, we've already seen the Four Noble Truths, the acceptance, the dukkha, which is the acceptance of suffering, samudaya, which is the probing and finding out what is the reason for the suffering, Nirodha, which is the cessation of the suffering, and finally Marga, which is put yourself in the path to end the suffering. Apart from that, there is Buddha has talked about the birth rebirth cycle in an organizational context, in a modern business context, or in an academic context. It is the learning that one can have in one cycle of this empathize, analyze, solve, and test, the four stages of design thinking. What can you learn in one of the cycles? You can apply it again, and that learning always remains with you. So if you spend time with your users, customers, whatever you learn by applying empathize, then followed by analyze, analysis, generate ideas and solve, and make a prototype of it in test, then you take it back to your users. You actually retain that the karma. The word is the fruit of what you have done in the past, right? So whatever you've done in this cycle, you can reuse it and keep iterating it, and it can pass on to the next cycle, next generation of the design thinking cycle itself. That's why I call it a karmic cycle, or cycles of design thinking, and for short, that's why we call it the karmic design thinking. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Dr. Monica also has a follow-up question on the difference between multi-why and five-why technique.
Okay. I think this morning somebody did ask. A few days ago, somebody had asked what is 5Y, and I had responded to that as well, which is uh, 5Y's technique was introduced by, I think, Toyota in the 70s. They made it very popular in the shop floor of their company, and it served for root cause analysis very, very well. And I picked that method because it's very simple to learn, difficult to apply if you don't know the problem very well, but it's extremely simple to learn. But then I started wondering about why five? Why can't it be four? Why can't it be six? Right? So when you're asking why, you ask why about everything. So I said, doesn't make sense just to limit it to five, or there's nothing magical about the number five. So I replaced it with the word multi. So which could have three, which could have seven, which could have eight, could have five also. So that's why I'm not so hung up about the number five in this. So we use the phrase multi-Y instead of 5Y. That's all the difference there is. Otherwise, the technique is exactly the same. There is no difference between what was used by Toyota and what we use in our method here. So that's why it's called multi-Y. Hopefully that answers your question.
All right, sir. There is one question from Raksha Rawat.
Okay.
It's about, as a student who is planning to do a PhD in the near future, how
Okay.
can I apply and utilize design thinking in my PhD work? Can it be used as a form of methodology in it, in PhD?
Okay, excellent. Great question. Oftentimes, PhD, doing your PhD is a what I call a lone sport. That is, you are in a research group, but pretty much all of it's between you and your advisor, and what you do, what you handle, everything is all yours. So, design thinking, which is the exact opposite, that is, you look at others, you work with others, you develop something. So it's very antithetical to in one sense. It's the opposite of what a PhD usually is. So my suggestion to you is that if you can think about somebody who might use the work that you are doing, okay, say roll the clock five years forward, and think of somebody who may use it. Or if don't want to go that far into the future, maybe a junior who could possibly look at it and make use of it. That could be one way to start your to look at your work. Okay, for example, I was in my PhD, I was setting up a spectroscope. Okay, spectroscope is a fancy word for a thing that measures. Okay, measures, in my case it was a magnetic measurement using light methods. Okay, using a light source. So um, I was building it, but I knew that it was towards the end of my PhD, so I knew that my juniors were going to use it. So I actually did two things. One was to write a manual, so that somebody who is absolutely new to this will be able to pick it up. Two, I had a presentation which I gave, and I helped understand, help my fellow researchers understand what I was trying to do, all the struggles that I had building this spectroscope, all of this sort of was encapsulated into those two things. So you could do the same. In fact, it will also help you because you yourself will understand that technique when you're explaining it to somebody else. You hear yourself one, and you all the other person will be curious. If they're curious, they'll ask you a lot of questions, and your questions, your command on that subject becomes stronger. So these are a few tips and tricks that could help you in thinking about how to make it useful for somebody else. This is the way I would use design thinking in your PhD. Hopefully it helps you. If you think you had something else in mind, please do reach out to me, or you could leave a question on the discussion forum, or you can have a follow-up question right here.
Right. More questions coming in from the learners.
Okay.
One is from Shubham Jose
Okay.
on conflict of interest approach in multi-stakeholder ecosystem. Describing the problem as increasing scale of problem, conflicting interest amount. How do you recommend visually mapping or mediating conflicts when the number of stakeholders and interests become very large and dispersed?
Okay. Thank you, Shubham, for that question. I would say if you're comfortable with conflict of interest methodology, then you can go to this level of multi-stakeholder. If you are not, don't even try to attempt that at first go. So from my own experience, I can tell you it's very easy to go down by that path and get completely confused. Why? Apparently, neurologically, we can only handle comparison of two things, one versus the other. That's the max you can do at one point of time. Apparently, okay, I've read this somewhere. So, conflict of interest model, if you've seen the element name value ENV model, this is about two stakeholders, or it's human versus machine, that kind of comparison and conflict that we are looking at. Okay, so if you are not comfortable with conflict, if you're not proficient with that, I would recommend you do this many times. You get comfortable with the idea of this versus that. If I do this, it's this person gains but this person loses. If I do the opposite, the other person gains and this person loses. So get comfortable with that idea, with that thinking first before getting into a multi-stakeholder ecosystem. Okay, now once you've done that, once you're comfortable, you found out all conflicts in the system, and you have multiple stakeholders. So do that pairwise. You have to do multi-stakeholders. Then I would say do it pairwise, like in a sport. If you are like I don't know, I'm going to take IPL as an example, or if you're a football fan, EPL. So many teams, you can't make them all fight it out in the same field. It'll be chaotic, right? So if you have 10 teams on the cricket ground, or I don't know how many teams are in EPL. Hello? If you have 20 teams in your football ground, it's going to be complete chaos. So you can't do that. So you have to do matchup one versus the other. In fact, you can have groups and do all of that. Do the same thing. Make matchups, and then if you notice that the parameters that you use, there are some overlaps, you can connect them. Okay, visually, like you rightly recommend, use visual mapping, and there are plenty of tools. I'm not even going to start. I mean, there is Miro, there is the other one that we use. Sham, what is the tool that we use in our IIT Madras
Mural,
course?
Figma, Miro.
Sorry?
Mural, Figma, Miro.
Ah,
These are the
Mural.
tools.
Mural is the one that I had in mind. Mural, Figma, um, Miro. You can use plant UML if you're a coder, you want to code things. You can use any of those, or just a simple post-it note, put it on a notice board and connect them. Or even if you don't want to get fancy, just take a piece of paper, a larger chart paper, and draw it with your hand and connect them all, the contradictions, the conflicts, and see where all they connect to each other. Okay, that will give you a very, very good understanding of all the problems that are there in your system. What are the conflicts in your system with a multi-stakeholder system like that? Okay, so to reiterate, start small with two players at a time. Okay, do not attempt to take multiple stakeholders and try to match up. It is like a IPL with all 10 teams playing in the same ground. It's not possible. Okay, you will just end up confusing everybody. Okay, so take two at a time and see if there are any overlaps, any commonalities. If there are, connect them visually using a map, an electronic map, a digital map, or if you, for me, doing it on piece of paper with a pen and paper is the best to do, better to do that, and you'll get a very, very clear understanding of the problem itself. Okay, thank you for the question. Very, very interesting.
All right, so we can move on to the next question, which is from Deepak about the Altshuler's principle. What are some other inventive principles, like you explained about do it in reverse principle? What can be utilized in our approach, in our design thinking approach?
Okay. These principles, let me at the outset, let me tell you. The question is, there are lots of these inventive principles. Can you tell me something which can be utilized in our design thinking approach? I introduced these principles into design thinking because many times it's not even needed. You can use your own creativity, generate ideas. But if it's a hard problem to solve and you're stuck, okay, you don't know how to proceed, these principles are amazing at breaking that deadlock. Okay, do it in reverse is one of the least used principles in my mind, and it's counterintuitive. So I ask people to do it in reverse so that they can see the opposite, do the opposite of what they normally do, to generate that will generate an idea, and it will give you different solutions that you've never thought before. So that's why I introduced that principle there. However, there are other principles like prior action. You've seen that in the course also. So do something ahead of time so that you can solve it. You're ready for the conflict or contradiction when it approaches. So that's a very standard thing, right? So if you're I don't know, customers, you don't want them to like say emergency room, and you have an emergency patient, you can't ask them to wait and fill out a form, right? Now, come on, every second is important, and you have to really, but you need information, their information, vital information about what medicines they're allergic to and all of that. So, one do it prior action would be, if they have some pre-filled document already, just import that. So that could be a great prior action to do, so that those vital seconds you don't have to make them fill out forms and all that and waste time. You can straight away get into the treatment, and now you have access to their records. So that's a prior action. So it's about these principles. I don't know, nested dolls. There is a nested doll. So I don't know if you've seen these dolls, which when you open it, you see another doll. You open it, another doll. It's called matryoshka in Russian. This is a doll. Basically, the idea is the object within an object. So,
साथी बैठो बैठो
sorry.
चल ले ले बैठो बैठो तिवारी
कौन सा लेके जाओ हम आना है
Wow.
भाई
Sham, is there any way you can mute this?
Yeah,
Yeah. So nested dolls are, for example, if you're given a gift, to annoy your friend, you can have a box within a box within a box, right? Or if you've seen the movie Inception, it's dream within a dream within a dream, okay? Or if you've used a antenna, a telescopic antenna, it's box within a tube within a tube. An aero bridge in an airplane is nothing but a tube within a tube, right? So even our body is a tube within a tube. So these are all examples of the same principle called nested dolls, but used in different domains. So uh, it can be really useful to use some of these principles. In fact, you can use this website called tris40.com, which has all of these 40 principles. I'm just entering it into the chat here. You can use them. Click on the inventive principles. You will find a lot of these that you can use. You can read through the examples and see if it can help you out. Okay. um, just keep in mind that these are all written by engineers, so it's primarily aimed at engineering domain. But you can Google it up. You can use your internet engine to search engine to find out if how to translate it to your domain. Take that principal name, drop it in, and say or your LLMs, and ask them, hey, in this domain, what? Give me some examples of this principle, and it'll just pop out a few examples.
Yes, sir. Actually, your last part of the question answers the question of one more learner here, Sheikh Kasim Bibi, who
Okay.
asks, what is the technical perspective of design thinking? I feel that is more of management.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's only management, because even technical products, technical services, they are all for the at the service of a human being, right? Of or human beings, right? You cannot have a technical system in isolation where nobody is using it. Then it's actually of no use. Even the most high tech of products, Hubble Space Telescope, if cannot be accessed by human beings, it's just a rock in the space. It's of no use. It's not a innovation. It's not a high technology. So it doesn't matter whether it's design, if it's high tech, if it is low tech, if it is services, it is management. Design thinking is a way of thinking, sort of having your thinking straight, so that you can make somebody else's life better than what it used to be. So it's as relevant to a high tech product as it's relevant to a management problem. So you can use this in HR, you can use it in digital marketing, you can use it in for designing rockets, hyperloops, you name it. You can definitely use design thinking for that purpose.
And there is one question from Deepu Pandey,
Okay.
who asks how to think for creative idea and which components are required. Please give example.
Sorry, how to think for?
How to think creative idea, which
Okay.
components are required? Please give me example.
Okay. So, the reason you're calling some of your ideas not creative, that's where I would start. Okay. So, whenever you think of a problem and you're writing down ideas, you're like, oh, there's not creative enough. The reason is very simple. The first set of ideas come to your mind, and that actually leads me to a discussion forum question that's popped up just now, which is the teacup story that I say, right? So those are the first things that need to be removed from your head, so to speak, right? Already you've thought of these ideas. Where do those ideas come from? Well, you've learned it somewhere, you've read it somewhere, or you yourself thought of this idea a while back when you thought of this problem. So those are all the non-wow ideas that are already there. And how do you empty your teacup? You write it down. You write down those ideas and keep it in front of you. Now think of the problem. Go back to your analysis, the end of the analysis, the conflict, and see, okay, now how do I solve this? Your brain cannot think of the old ideas, right? Because you've already written it down. That's right there. Till it remains in your head, it'll keep coming back to you. So now that you've written it down, your brain will not allow for for the idea to recur. Okay, that's an interesting way it works. So because you've written it down, now if you want, you can think of ideas. Some new ideas may pop up. Okay, but you've tried with all your might, you cannot go beyond these three ideas that you already thought of. Then here's the hack. Use one of the TRIZ inventive principles. Do it in reverse is your friend, the one that I talked about previous to this. Think about what can you do in the conditions of the problem, a reverse, so that you can generate a new idea. Doesn't matter whether it's implementable, whether it's costly, it's stupid according to you, it's non-creative. Doesn't matter. Just invert the whole thing and see if you can come up with a completely new idea. Okay. If it was going from left to right, make it right to left. If it is going from up to down, make it down to up. If it is rotating, make it stop. If it is stopped, make it move. Okay, something like that. Make something that was one way, make it the opposite of that. That will give you a completely new idea. Okay, try this and let us know if you come up with a creative idea or not, and we will try and help you further. Okay. Yes, Sham.
I think that's all from learners. So I'll share the last slide once again, the upcoming live session.
Okay. Again, there are a few exam related questions also. The answer is please wait till September 19th, which is what Shyam is going to show. And we will see you there for your exam related questions. That live session is going to be mainly for answering your exam related questions. We'll do whether it's MCQ, whether it is the syllabus, what type of questions, all of that you will be able to see that. What kind of lectures, what kind of preparation do you have to do, all of that we will definitely see in that session. I thought I saw a question that we didn't do before. Even Bloom's taxonomy of higher levels of thinking comes under design thinking. It says, okay. Okay, that is a comment, I suppose. All right. If that's a comment, then I'll let it be. So if I have to add that comment to that, saying Bloom's taxonomy is about these verbs that are categorized as the level of learning. So as a teacher, you may, if you're aware of, many teachers know about this. Bloom's taxonomy says you use these verbs to signify which level of learning and which kind of instruction do we give to our students. So that's what Dr. Mohammed Hussain is talking about. What has it got to do with design thinking? I think the latter half of it talks about analysis and about designing, creating, all that, which is the fifth, I think the fifth and the sixth level, if I'm not wrong. So those could possibly apply under what we do under design thinking. But if you're teaching design thinking itself as a subject, I would start with first do the recall, do the basic questions first. Like in this course, that's what we test you on, right? The recall based questions, the synthesis we do it in a workshop. So that's what I would try to relate it for the design thinking. Okay, so that was the last question I think that we have. I didn't see any other questions. Okay, so I think we're about out of time. Thank you everyone for your questions on the chat here, as well as the in the forums, as well as the Google form that we circulated. Very interesting questions. Keep them going. We'll try our best to respond to you. And if you would like to keep in touch, keep it via the discussion forum. I'll be very happy to respond to that. And we'll keep in touch. Thank you, Sham. Thank you, NPTEL team, for organizing things, this session, and thank you to all of you for showing up for this session. So I'll see you around. See you on September 19th or on the discussion forum. So thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Bye, all.